Taoiseach, most Garda divisions now have fewer frontline officers than this time last year. That's a shocking headline currently throughout the country. In the 560 Garda stations that exist, the number has fallen from 12,045 Gardaí to 11,928 Gardaí. In Waterford, the number of Gardaí has fallen by 24. In Louth, Cavan and Monaghan, the number of Gardaí has fallen by 48. In Roscommon and Longford, the number of Gardaí has fallen by 22. In Meath, my own county, the county with the lowest number of Gardaí per capita in the state, in our division, the number of Gardaí has fallen again. Now, in actual real terms, the Garda numbers have fallen below 2020 figures. They've actually fallen in real terms below 2009 figures. And believe it or not, in per capita figures, we have lower number of Gardaí now than we had 20 years ago in 2005. An incredible situation. So under Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, Ireland has now its lowest number of Gardaí in 20 years per capita. And that's on the basis that Ireland has also got the lowest number of Gardaí per capita in the whole of the European Union. An incredible situation where police forces right across Europe have far more police per capita than Ireland. Now, we're seeing rural Garda stations that were closed, and that's had an enormous level of damage across the country. And the refusal by the government to staff those Garda stations is actually leaving those communities exposed to crime. It is a competitive advantage to criminals that your party and Fine Gael have closed Garda stations around the country. In my own county, Ballivor, Longwood, Summerhill, Athboy, Oldcastle, all have Garda stations that are hardly opened at the moment. And these are typical of many other towns throughout the country that have been abandoned by your government to crime. These towns had functional Garda stations 100 years ago, when this state hadn't got a shilling to rub together and where crime was about a quarter of what it is now. Now, more Gardaí are resigning than ever before. More Gardaí are retiring than ever before. More Gardaí are being attacked on a daily basis than ever before. Drew Harris has lost the dressing room. There is a universal lack of confidence in Drew Harris amongst the Gardaí, and this is leading to a substantial increase in crime. Burglaries are increasing at a serious rate. Violent burglaries are increasing. There's now a person's property being broken into every 50 minutes in this country. We've seen theft offences, kidnappings, firearms, explosive offences, public order offences, violent crime, attempted murders, assaults, shootings and drug importations and arson attacks, all increasing at the moment. Taoiseach, this is your Ireland at the moment. Now, I would like to ask the government, will they invest in real terms in Garda paying conditions? Will they reopen the many Garda stations that have been closed? And I will say this, in conclusion, you have a situation now where Garda stations, 56 of them, don't even have an assigned Garda. You would think that having a Garda would be a key component to a Garda station.
Please conclude,
and yet we don't have this. Will you reopen those Garda stations and make sure that they are properly staffed? Can I say you have a more positive disposition than anybody living in those towns without a Garda station, Taoiseach, in reality? And just to focus in on the Garda Inspectorate report on public order policing that you mentioned there, it's really important to say that that was published 7 years ago, Taoiseach, 7 years ago. Now, I've asked numerous Ministers for Justice, have the recommendations of that report actually been implemented? 3 months after I asked Helen McEntee that question, have they been implemented? I got an answer back in a parliamentary question which said she doesn't know the answer to that and she will give me the answer to that when she can. I asked the same question of the new Minister for Justice who came back to me in the last month, and he said 7 years after they were published that the department is considering the recommendations of that particular report. It's an incredible situation. If those recommendations had been implemented, we could have mitigated against the worst damage of the Dublin riots. We could have mitigated against the massive cost of those Dublin riots, not just in financial terms to the taxpayer, but the massive cost to our reputation internationally in relation to the damage that was done in those Dublin riots. We don't have a public order unit specifically. What we have is other Gardaí that are actually taken out of Garda stations and put into a public order unit for a period of time. So when
Deputy Tobin, resume your seat, please.
Garda Inspectorate report in full.